The massive crystal hall stretched far beyond what any human eye could see. 43 different alien species sat around a table made of black stone that seemed to glow from within. The air buzzed with nervous energy as creatures of all shapes and sizes whispered to each other in languages that sounded like music, static, and sometimes like breaking glass. Ambassador Vexkoth tapped his sharp, claw-like fingers on the table. He was tall and thin, covered in what looked like purple crystal, scales. His large black eyes showed worry as he looked around the room. The sound of his tapping echoed through the huge dome above them, making everyone even more nervous. "We have a big problem," said High Arbiter Quindal. Her body was see-through, like a ghost made of blue light. She floated above her chair instead of sitting in it. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "The human ships are moving again. They are coming toward our space." The room exploded with noise. Some aliens made clicking sounds, others let out low moans, and a few started, flashing different colors like living disco balls. Everyone was scared, and they were not trying to hide it. "How many ships?" asked General Throck, a creature that looked like a walking tree with too many arms. His voice was deep and made the whole room shake a little. 3 colony ships," Quindal replied. "Each one carries about 50,000 humans. They are all sleeping, but their computers are guiding them here." 50,000 each? Vexkoth's crystal scales turned a darker purple. "That is 150,000 humans total. We cannot let them reach our worlds." An alien that looked like a giant jellyfish floating in a water-filled suit raised one of its tentacles. "Remind me again why we fear these humans so much. They have been quiet for 300 years. Maybe they have changed." The room went silent. Every alien in the hall turned to look at the jellyfish creature. The silence was so complete that you could hear the soft humming of the space station's air systems. "You were not alive during the last human contact," said Elder Morden, the oldest being in the room. He looked like a mix between a lizard and a bird, with feathers that changed color based on his mood. Right now they were dark red, which meant he was remembering something unpleasant. "I was there. I saw what they could do." "Tell us again," said another voice from across the room. This came from Speaker Zeltara, who looked like a moving pile of silver metal shaped like a person. "Some of us need to remember why the Great Rule exists." Elder Morden stood up slowly. His feathers shifted to a pale yellow, which meant he was thinking hard about the past. 312 years ago, a single human ship met our strongest battle fleet. The Krelak Empire had 200 ships, each one bigger than a small moon. They were the most feared warriors in the galaxy. He paused and looked around the room. Every alien was listening carefully. The human ship was small, maybe 50 humans on board. The Krelak demanded they surrender so they could study human technology. The human captain laughed at them. "Laughed?" asked someone from the back of the room. "Yes, laughed. Then he did something no one expected. Instead of running away or fighting back, he flew his tiny ship right through the middle of their entire fleet. He moved in ways that should have been impossible. The Krelak could not hit him." Elder Morden's feathers turned bright orange, which meant he was excited by the memory. But that was not the scary part. The scary part was what happened next. The human captain got on the radio and talked to the Krelak commander. He said, "You want to see our technology? Fine. But you are not going to like it." The room was so quiet that some aliens were holding their breath, even though not all of them needed to breathe. The human ship stopped moving. It just sat there in space while 200 enemy ships surrounded it. Then something impossible happened. The human ship disappeared. "Disappeared?" asked Vexkoth. "Not invisible. Not fast. Gone. Like it never existed." The Krelak searched for 3 days. Nothing. Then on the 4th day, the human ship appeared right in the middle of their home planet's orbit. It had somehow traveled 500 light-years in 3 days, which should have taken months even with the fastest ships. Elder Morden sat back down, his feathers now a deep blue, which meant he was sad. The human captain sent one message to the Krelak homeworld. He said, "We could have destroyed your entire fleet. We could destroy your planet right now, but we do not want to fight. We just want to explore. Leave us alone and we will leave you alone." "What happened to the Krelak?" asked the jellyfish alien. They agreed immediately. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was so scared of one small human ship that they signed a peace treaty that same day. The room buzzed with nervous whispers again. Everyone knew this story, but hearing it again made them remember why they were all so afraid. "But that was just one ship," said Speaker Zeltara. "How bad could it be?" Elder Morden's feathers turned black, which meant he was terrified, because after that, more human ships appeared everywhere. They did not conquer worlds or destroy cities. They did something worse. They started asking questions. Questions? Yes, they wanted to know how everything worked. They studied black holes by flying right into them. They explored the inside of stars. They made friends with creatures we were too scared to talk to. They treated the most dangerous places in the galaxy like playgrounds. Vexkoth's crystal scales were now almost black with worry. And then they went silent. "Yes," said Elder Morden. 300 years ago, all human ships returned to their home system. Earth went dark. No signals, no ships, nothing. We thought maybe they had destroyed themselves. We hoped they had destroyed themselves. So we made the great rule," said High Arbiter Quindal. "No one goes to human space, no one wakes the humans, no one makes contact. We keep them sleeping and they keep us safe." "But now they are awake again," said General Throck. 3 ships, heading right for our territory. The room erupted in worried chatter again. Some aliens wanted to send warships to turn the humans away. Others suggested they should run to the far side of the galaxy. A few thought they should try to make the humans go back to sleep somehow. "We cannot fight them," said Elder Morden. "We tried that once. It did not work." "We cannot run," said Vexkoth. "This is our space. We have been here for thousands of years." "Then what do we do?" asked the jellyfish alien. High Arbiter Quindal floated higher above her chair. Her blue eye light got brighter, which meant she was about to make an important decision. "We send a small ship to intercept them. We try to turn them around quietly without waking them up. If we are very careful and very lucky, maybe we can redirect their ships toward empty space." "And if they wake up?" asked someone. The room went silent again. No one wanted to answer that question. "If they wake up," said Elder Morden quietly, "then the great rule is broken, and the galaxy will never be the same again." Far away in the cold darkness of space, 3 massive human ships drifted silently toward alien territory. Inside each ship, 50,000 humans slept peacefully in their cold sleep pods, dreaming of new worlds and new adventures. They had no idea that 43 different alien species were having nightmares about them. Captain Jake Morrison slept in his pod aboard the colony ship Liberty, unaware that his ship's computer was being watched by invisible alien scouts. His dreams were filled with images of green planets and blue skies, not knowing that somewhere in those dreams a soft voice was whispering, "They are coming. They are watching. Something is about to change." The galaxy held its breath and waited to see if the great rule would hold, or if the sleeping giants would finally wake up. Captain Zethra stood on the bridge of his scout ship, watching the massive human vessel drift through space like a sleeping giant. The ship was huge, bigger than most space stations he had seen. Its metal hull was dark gray with strange markings that looked like letters from the human language. Zethra was a Veltar, which meant he looked like a tall, thin person with pale blue skin and large black eyes. His people were known for being quiet and careful, perfect for spy missions. He had been chosen for this job because he was the best at sneaking around without being seen. "Captain," said his second officer, Nixara, "we are close enough to the human ship. Our invisible field is working, they cannot see us." "Good," Zethra replied, but his voice was shaky. He had been in many dangerous situations before, but this felt different. This felt like he was trying to sneak past a sleeping dragon. "Remember, the mission. We get on their ship, change their navigation computer, and get out. We do not wake any humans. We do not let them see us." The human ship was called the Liberty. Inside it, 50,000 humans slept in special pods that kept them cold and alive during the long trip between stars. The ship's computer, which the humans called Atlas, was flying the ship toward what it thought was an empty star system with planets perfect for making a new home. But the star system was not empty. It belonged to the Zephyrian Republic, and they did not want human neighbors. Zethra's ship attached itself to the Liberty's hull like a small bug landing on a whale. His team of 5 Veltar soldiers put on their spacesuits and got ready to cut through the human ship's outer wall. "Be very quiet," Zethra whispered into his radio. "Human hearing is very good. If they wake up, we run." The Veltar used special tools that cut through metal without making noise or heat. Soon they had made a hole big enough to crawl through. One by one, they floated into the human ship. The inside of the Liberty was dark and cold. Long hallways stretched in every direction, with thousands of sleeping pods lining the walls. Each pod had a small window, and through the windows the Veltar could see human faces, peaceful and unaware of the aliens walking among them. "This is creepy," whispered Nixara. "They look so much like us, but different. Smaller eyes, different skin colors." "Stay focused," Zethra said. "The navigation computer should be in the center of the ship. Follow me and do not touch anything." They moved through the ship like ghosts, using their natural ability to make almost no sound. The Veltar had evolved to be perfect hunters, and now they were using those skills to hunt computer codes instead of prey. But something was wrong. As they got deeper into the ship, Zethra noticed that some of the lights on the walls were blinking faster than before. The ship's computer was becoming more active, like it was starting to wake up. "Captain," Nixara said quietly, "I think the ship knows we are here." Before Zethra could answer, a voice filled the hallway. It was calm and electronic, like a computer trying to sound like a person. "Unknown life forms detected on Deck 7, running security protocols, initiating partial crew revival." "Oh no," Zethra whispered. "We have to get out of here now." But it was too late. All around them, some of the sleeping pods began to make humming sounds. Lights started turning on. The ship was waking up, and it was waking up some of its crew. The Veltar ran toward the navigation center, hoping they could still complete their mission before any humans woke up completely. They found the room filled with glowing screens and blinking lights. The main computer core was a tall tower of crystal and metal that reached from floor to ceiling. Zethra pulled out a small device that was supposed to change the ship's course without anyone noticing. He plugged it into the computer and waited for it to work. "How long?" asked Nixara, watching the hallway for any signs of humans. 2 minutes, Zethra replied. "The device needs 2 minutes to change their navigation." That was when they heard footsteps. Heavy human footsteps were coming down the hallway along with voices. The humans were awake and they were coming to check on their computer. "Captain, we need to go," said one of his soldiers. "Almost done," Zethra said, watching his device work. 30 more seconds. The footsteps got louder. The humans were talking to each other in their strange language, which sounded rough and quick compared to the musical speech of most aliens. "Someone's been messing with Atlas," said a human voice. "The security sensors picked up multiple contacts." "Could be space debris," said another voice. "Or maybe pirates." "Pirates would have attacked by now. This feels different." 20 seconds left on Zethra's device. The Veltar captain was sweating, which was something his people only did when they were very scared. "Captain," Nixara hissed, "they are right outside." 15 seconds. The door to the navigation room opened, and a human walked in. He was not very tall, but he looked strong. His skin was tan and his hair was brown. He wore a blue uniform with patches and badges on it. His name tag said Walsh. Chief Petty Officer Danny Walsh stopped dead in his tracks when he saw 5 tall, blue-skinned aliens standing around his ship's computer. For a moment, nobody moved. The human stared at the aliens, and the aliens stared back at the human. 10 seconds left on the device. Danny Walsh was from Texas, and he had been a soldier before he became a space traveler. His first reaction was not to scream or run away. His first reaction was to talk. "Well, howdy there. Danny said in his slow Texas accent. "Y'all having trouble with our computer?" Zethra was so surprised that he almost forgot to speak. In all his years of training, no one had taught him what to do if a human said hello. You should not be awake," Zethra said, his English rough and hard to understand. The Accord forbids contact." "The what now?" Danny took a step closer, not seeming afraid at all. "You folks from around here?" "Because this is the first time I've met anyone who wasn't human." 5 seconds. We are not supposed to talk to you," Zethra said. "You are supposed to stay sleeping." "Well, partner," Danny grinned, "I hate to break it to you, but nobody asked me if I wanted to stay asleep." The device finished its work and beeped softly. Zethra grabbed it and put it in his pocket. "We must go," he said to his team. "Emergency extraction. Now." "Hold on there, blue fella," Danny said. "Don't you think we should talk about this? I mean, you just broke into our ship. Where I come from, that's considered rude. But the Veltar were already moving." Zethra pulled out a small round device and pressed a button on it. The device started blinking red and making a high-pitched whining sound. "Emergency beacon activated," Zethra said. "Transport in 10 seconds. Danny realized that the aliens were about to disappear somehow. He did the most human thing possible in that situation. He lunged forward and tried to grab one of them. "Wait a minute," he shouted. "You can't just break into someone's ship and leave without explaining yourselves." Zethra dodged Danny's grab, but just barely. The human was faster than he expected, and stronger too. "Please," Zethra said, backing toward the wall. "Do not follow us. For your own safety, do not follow us." "Safety?" Danny laughed. "Mister, I've been shot at by pirates, survived 3 different space storms, and once had to fix a reactor while it was exploding. I think I can handle a conversation with some friendly aliens." The beacon finished charging. There was a bright flash of light and all 5 Veltar disappeared, leaving only empty air and a faint smell like flowers. Danny stood alone in the navigation room, staring at the spot where the aliens had been. He looked around to make sure he had not imagined the whole thing, then walked over to the computer console. "Atlas," he said to the ship's computer. "Did you record all that?" "Yes, Chief Walsh," the computer replied. 5 unknown aliens accessed the navigation system. They appeared to have installed some kind of modification to our course." "Well, I'll be damned," Danny muttered. "We're not alone after all." He pressed a button on the wall that would wake up the ship's captain and senior officers. This was definitely something they needed to know about. "Atlas, how long until Captain Morrison is awake?" "Captain Morrison will be fully conscious in approximately 15 minutes. Danny grinned. "This is going to be one interesting day." Meanwhile, on the Veltar scout ship, Zethra was sending an emergency message to the Galactic Accord. His hands were shaking as he typed. "Mission failed. Humans are awake. They have seen us. The Great Rule has been broken." The response came back almost immediately. "Return to base immediately. Tell no one what happened. We will handle this." But Zethra knew it was too late to handle anything. The secret that the galaxy had kept for 300 years was out. The humans knew they were not alone in the universe. And from what he had seen of that one human, Danny Walsh, they were not going to quietly go back to sleep. Captain Jake Morrison woke up feeling like he had been sleeping for 100 years. His body was cold and stiff from the long sleep in the cryopod. The first thing he heard was alarms ringing throughout the ship, and the second thing he heard was his chief petty officer talking very fast on the radio. "Captain, you need to get to the bridge right now," Danny Walsh was saying. "We've got ourselves a situation that's bigger than a Texas tornado." Jake pulled on his uniform and walked quickly through the ship's hallways. Other crew members were waking up too, looking confused and worried. The Liberty had 50,000 people on it, but only about 100 were awake right now. The ship's computer had woken up just the essential crew. When Jake reached the bridge, he found Danny waiting for him with a big grin on his face. Danny looked excited rather than worried, which was typical for the man from Texas. "All right, Danny," Jake said, sitting down in his captain's chair. "What's this situation you're talking about?" "Well, sir," Danny said, It turns out we're not alone in the universe. About an hour ago, 5 blue-skinned aliens broke into our ship, messed with our navigation computer, and then disappeared in a flash of light. Jake stared at his chief petty officer for a long moment. Danny, are you feeling okay? Did you hit your head when you woke up? I know how it sounds, Captain, but Atlas recorded the whole thing. Show him, Atlas. The ship's computer projected a hologram in the center of the bridge. The hologram showed Danny talking to 5 tall, thin aliens with blue skin and large black eyes. Jake watched as the aliens spoke in broken English about something called the Accord and how humans were supposed to stay sleeping. Well, Jake said after the recording ended, that's not something you see every day. Gets better, sir, Danny continued. They changed our navigation. We're not heading to New Texas Colony anymore. They've redirected us toward empty space, probably hoping we'll just drift away and go back to sleep. Jake looked at the navigation display. Sure enough, their course had been changed. Instead of heading toward a star system with 3 habitable planets, they were now flying toward a region of space with nothing but gas clouds and empty darkness. So let me get this straight, Jake said. Aliens are real. They don't want us awake, and they're trying to get rid of us by sending us toward nowhere. That's about the size of it, Captain. Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. He had been a colony ship captain for 15 years, and he had dealt with pirates, equipment failures, and space storms, but he had never dealt with aliens who were afraid of humans. Atlas, he said to the computer, can you fix our navigation back to the original course? Yes, Captain, Atlas replied. However, I should inform you that I am detecting multiple ships following us at a distance. They appear to be using some kind of stealth technology, but I can still see them on long-range sensors. How many ships? At least 12, possibly more. They are maintaining a distance of approximately 1 million kilometers. Jake looked at Danny, who was still grinning. You seem pretty happy about all this. Well, sir, Danny said, I've always wondered if we were alone out here. Now I know we're not. Plus, these aliens seem more scared of us than we are of them. That blue fella, Zethra, looked like he was about to wet himself when I tried to shake his hand. Before Jake could respond, the ship's communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, called out from her station. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. On multiple frequencies, it's in English, but the accent is strange. Put it on speakers, Jake ordered. A voice filled the bridge. It sounded like someone trying very hard to speak English correctly, but not quite getting it right. Human Vessel Liberty, this is the Galactic Accord diplomatic ship Harmony. We request immediate communication with your leader. This is a matter of extreme importance for all species in this region of space. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They all seemed excited rather than frightened, which made him proud. Humans had always been curious about the unknown. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the colony ship Liberty, he said into the radio. I'm the leader of this vessel. What can I do for you? There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. Captain Morrison, we need to talk, face to face. There are things you need to understand about your species and why we have avoided contact for so long. Well, Jake said, we're always happy to meet new neighbors. Where would you like to meet? Another pause, longer this time. We will send coordinates for a neutral meeting place. Please bring no weapons and no more than 5 of your people. We will do the same. Sounds fair to me, Jake replied. When? As soon as possible. Time is important in this matter. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge quiet except for the usual humming of the ship's systems. What do you think, Captain? Asked Amy Rodriguez. Could be a trap? Could be, Jake agreed. But they had a chance to attack us or destroy us, and they didn't. Instead, they just tried to redirect us. That tells me they don't want to fight. Plus, added Danny, that Zethra fella seemed more nervous than dangerous. I got the feeling he was following orders he didn't like. Jake made his decision. Amy, you're with me. Danny, you too. I want Dr. Lisa Chen from the science department and Chief Engineer Carlos Mendez. If we're going to meet aliens, I want our best people there. What about security? Amy asked. No weapons, Jake said. These aliens are scared of us for some reason. The last thing we want to do is make them more scared. 2 hours later, the 5 humans were sitting in a small shuttle, flying toward the coordinates the aliens had given them. The meeting place was near a small asteroid, far from any planets or space stations. Dr. Lisa Chen was the most excited of the group. She was a tall woman with black hair and bright eyes who had spent her whole career studying the possibility of alien life. Now she was about to meet real aliens face to face. This is the greatest day in human history, she said, checking her recording equipment for the 10th time. First contact with an alien species will be in every history book ever written. Just remember, Jake said, we don't know what they want or why they're scared of us. Let's be friendly but careful. The shuttle approached a large alien ship that looked like it was made of crystal and silver. It was beautiful but strange, with curves and angles that hurt to look at for too long. Wow, said Carlos Mendez, the chief engineer. That's some serious technology. Look at those energy readings. Their power source is putting out more energy than our entire ship. And they're probably holding back, Lisa added. If they've been spacefaring for longer than us, their technology could be centuries ahead of ours. The alien ship opened a docking bay, and the human shuttle flew inside. The bay was filled with soft, colorful lights that seemed to move like living things. When the shuttle landed, the humans could see several aliens waiting for them. Jake opened the shuttle door and stepped out, followed by his team. The aliens were even more impressive in person than they had been in the recording. There were 5 of them, all different species. One looked like Zethra, the blue-skinned Veltar. Another was made of what appeared to be living crystal, changing colors as it moved. A third looked like a tall, thin tree with too many arms. The 4th was floating in the air, transparent like a ghost made of light. The 5th was inside a water-filled suit and looked like a giant jellyfish. Welcome, said the floating alien in a voice like wind chimes. I am High Arbiter Quindal of the Galactic Accord. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting us, Jake replied. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. These are my officers. Please, Quindal said, follow us to the meeting chamber. There is much we need to discuss. As they walked through the alien ship, the humans looked around in wonder. The walls seemed to be alive, glowing softly and changing colors. The air smelled like flowers and ozone. Everything was beautiful but alien, like walking through a dream. Captain Morrison, Quindal said as they walked. What do you know about your species' history in space? Not much beyond the basics, Jake admitted. We've been exploring for about 400 years. We've colonized maybe 50 worlds. Pretty standard stuff. Quindal's light flickered, which seemed to mean she was surprised. Standard? She said. Captain, your species has been the subject of our greatest fears for over 3 centuries. There is nothing standard about humanity. They reached a large room with a round table in the center. The aliens sat down, and the humans did the same. What do you mean, your greatest fears? Asked Dr. Chen. The crystal alien, who had introduced himself as Ambassador Vexkoth, spoke up. His voice sounded like music played on glass instruments. Dr. Chen, how much do you know about the Krelak incident of 2387? Lisa looked confused. I've never heard of it. That, said Quindal, is exactly the problem. The meeting room fell silent after Ambassador Vexkoth mentioned the Krelak incident. Captain Jake Morrison could feel the tension in the air like electricity before a storm. The 5 aliens looked at each other nervously, as if they were trying to decide who should tell a terrible secret. I think, said High Arbiter Quindal slowly, that you need to understand your own history before we can move forward. Dr. Lisa Chen leaned forward in her chair. What do you mean, our own history? We keep detailed records of everything humanity has done in space. Not everything, said the tree-like alien, General Throck. His voice was deep and made the whole room vibrate slightly. Your government chose to hide this information from your people. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. What information? Quindal waved her ghostly hand, and the air in the center of the room began to glow. Soon, a 3-dimensional picture appeared, showing a small human spaceship surrounded by hundreds of much larger alien vessels. 312 years ago, Quindal began, a human exploration ship called the Endeavour encountered a Krelak battle fleet in the Outer Rim. The Krelak were the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They had never lost a battle. Amy Rodriguez, the communication officer, studied the image. That's a Federation ship design, but I've never seen that model before. The Endeavour carried 53 humans, continued Quindal. The Krelak fleet had over 200 ships and 50,000 warriors. The Krelak commander demanded that the humans surrender their ship for study. Chief Engineer Carlos Mendez whistled softly. 200 ships against one? That's not much of a fight. That is what everyone thought, said Ambassador Vexkoth, his crystal body shifting to a darker color. But the human captain, Ben Tyler, had other ideas. The image in the center of the room began to move like watching a recording of events from long ago. The small human ship suddenly began moving in ways that seemed impossible. It twisted and spun between the alien vessels, dodging weapons fire that should have destroyed it instantly. How is that possible? Asked Carlos. No ship can move like that. The forces would crush everyone inside. We asked ourselves the same question, said General Throck. But that was only the beginning. The recording showed the human ship stopping dead in space, surrounded by enemy vessels. Then something incredible happened. The ship simply vanished. Cloaking device? Asked Amy. No, said Quindal. Not invisible. Gone. It disappeared completely from our sensors, from reality itself. The Krelak searched for 3 days and found nothing. Danny Walsh had been quiet up until now, but he finally spoke up. Where did it go? That is the terrifying part, said Vexkoth. On the 4th day, the Endeavour appeared in orbit around the Krelak homeworld, 500 light-years away. Jake felt his mouth drop open. 500 light-years? That should take months, even with our fastest ships. It should take months with anyone's fastest ships, General Throck agreed. But the humans did it in 3 days. They had somehow created technology that made space travel instant. The recording changed to show a beautiful blue and green planet, with massive space stations in orbit around it. The small human ship sat calmly among the Krelak defenses, as if it belonged there. Captain, Tyler sent one message to the Krelak government, Quindal said. Would you like to hear it? Without waiting for an answer, she played an audio recording. A calm, confident human voice filled the room. This is Captain Ben Tyler of the Earth Federation ship Endeavour. We could have destroyed your entire fleet 3 days ago. We could destroy your planet right now. But we're not interested in conquest or war. We just want to explore the universe and learn new things. Leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. But if you keep trying to bully us, you'll find out that humans can be very creative when it comes to solving problems. The recording ended, leaving the humans staring at each other in amazement. What happened next? Asked Dr. Chen. The Krelak Empire, the most feared military power in the galaxy, immediately signed a peace treaty, said Quindal. They were so terrified that they offered to give the humans anything they wanted, as long as they promised to go away. But that's just one ship, Jake said. Surely the galaxy wasn't afraid of 53 people? That was what we hoped, said Ambassador Vexkoth. But then, more human ships appeared. Everywhere. They seemed to come out of nowhere, exploring, places we had never dared to go. The image in the center of the room changed again, showing human ships in impossible locations. One was flying directly into a black hole. Another was sailing through the corona of a star. A third was sitting calmly in the middle of a space storm that could tear apart planets. They treated the most dangerous places in the universe like tourist attractions, said General Throck. They studied things that had killed entire civilizations. They made friends with species so dangerous that we had quarantined their entire star systems. And they were always asking questions, added the jellyfish alien, speaking for the first time. Its voice bubbled and gurgled through its water suit. So many questions. How does this work? Why does that happen? What would occur if we tried this crazy idea? Carlos laughed despite the serious mood. That does sound like humans. It was not funny at the time, said Vexkoth. In 50 years, your species learned more about the universe than the rest of us had learned in 50,000 years, and you shared none of it. Why would we share it? Asked Amy. If everyone was afraid of us, why would they want our knowledge? Because, said Quindal, your species didn't just learn things. You changed things. You took technologies that had been the same for millions of years and made them better. You solved problems that had puzzled our greatest scientists since the beginning of recorded history. Dr. Chen was taking notes as fast as she could write. This is incredible. What happened to all this knowledge? Why don't we know about any of this? Because 300 years ago all human ships suddenly returned to Earth, said General Throck. Your home system went completely silent. No communications, no ships leaving, nothing. We thought perhaps your species had destroyed itself. Or been destroyed by something even more dangerous than humans, added Vexkoth quietly. Jake was trying to process everything he had heard. So the entire galaxy has been afraid of us for 3 centuries because of things our ancestors did that we don't even remember. Yes, said Quindal. We created the Great Rule. No contact with humans, no entering human space, no waking the sleeping ships. We hoped that if we left you alone, you would stay asleep forever. But you're awake now, said Ambassador Vexkoth. And that changes everything. Danny grinned. So let me get this straight. Our great-great-grandparents scared the entire galaxy so bad that y'all have been hiding from us for 300 years? That is correct, said General Throck. And now you're worried because we're exploring again? Very worried, admitted Quindal. Well, said Danny, I hate to break it to you folks, but humans haven't changed much. We're still curious, we still ask too many questions, and we still think impossible just means nobody's tried hard enough yet. The aliens looked at each other, with what could only be described as terror. However, Jake said quickly, we're also reasonable people. We don't want to cause trouble for anyone. Maybe we can work something out. Work something out? Asked Vexkoth. Sure, Jake said. You folks seem like you've got a good thing going here with your galactic accord. Maybe humans could be part of it. We could explore the dangerous places you're afraid of, answer those questions you're afraid to ask, and in return you could share your knowledge with us. The room went completely silent. The aliens stared at Jake as if he had just suggested they all jump into a star. You want to join the Galactic Accord? Quindal asked slowly. Why not? Jake replied. We're neighbors now. Might as well be friendly. Neighbors. Dr. Chen looked up from her notes. Captain, there's something else we need to consider. If human technology was so advanced 300 years ago, and Earth has been silent all this time, what do you think they've been doing? The question hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Improving, said Carlos quietly. If I know, humans, they've been improving everything. The aliens' expressions went from worried to terrified. Oh dear, whispered Quindal. We may have made a terrible mistake. What kind of mistake? Asked Jake. We assumed that if we left humans alone, they would stay peaceful and quiet. But if your species has spent 3 centuries advancing their technology in isolation— She didn't finish the sentence, but everyone in the room understood what she meant. Well, said Danny cheerfully, I guess y'all are about to find out just how much humans have learned while we were taking our little nap. Outside the meeting room, long-range sensors were detecting massive energy signatures coming from the direction of Earth. After 300 years of silence, humanity was coming back to the stars, and they were bringing friends. The emergency alarms on the alien diplomatic ship started ringing before anyone could react to Dr. Chen's question about what Earth had been doing for 300 years. All the aliens in the meeting room suddenly looked terrified, their various forms of communication lighting up with panic signals. What's happening? Asked Captain Jake Morrison, standing up from his chair. High Arbiter Quindal's ghostly form flickered rapidly, which seemed to be her species' way of showing extreme stress. Our long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from the direction of your home system. Something very large is coming this way very fast. Ambassador Vexkoth's crystal body turned almost black with fear. The energy readings are off our charts. Whatever is approaching has more power than our entire combined fleet. Through the meeting room's large window, the humans could see dozens of alien ships that had been hiding nearby suddenly appearing as they dropped their stealth technology. They were all moving away from Earth's direction as fast as they could travel. "How fast is this thing moving?" asked Chief Engineer Carlos Mendez. "According to our sensors," said General Throck, his tree-like form shaking, "it will be here in approximately 10 minutes. It's traveling at speeds that should be impossible." Dr. Lisa Chen was frantically checking her recording equipment. "This could be first contact with Earth's current government. We need to document everything. Or it could be Earth coming to rescue us," added Danny Walsh. "Though I'm not sure we need rescuing from folks who seem more scared of us than we are of them." Jake looked out the window and made a decision that would change galactic history. "I think we should stay and see what happens. If this is a ship from Earth, they might want to know that we've made contact with galactic civilization." "Captain," said Amy Rodriguez, "maybe we should get back to our shuttle just in case." "No," Jake said firmly. "We came here to talk, and that's what we're going to do. If Earth sent a ship, they probably want to talk too." The aliens looked at the humans like they were completely insane, which was not entirely wrong. 5 minutes later, something appeared in space that made everyone in the room stop talking. Even the humans, who had thought they were prepared for anything, could only stare in amazement. The ship that emerged from what looked like a tear in space itself was enormous. It was bigger than some of the space stations the humans had seen, but it moved with the grace of a small fighter craft. Its hull was a dark metal that seemed to absorb light, and it was covered with patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Is that a human ship?" asked Carlos quietly. I think so," said Lisa, studying the design. "Some of those hull markings look like evolved Federation symbols, but the technology is completely beyond anything in our databases." The massive ship moved closer to the diplomatic vessel, and suddenly, every communication system in the room activated at once. A calm professional voice filled the air, speaking perfect English with a slight accent that sounded like it came from everywhere and nowhere. "This is Admiral Susan Park of the Earth Federation ship Defiance. We are responding to reports that one of our colony vessels has made contact with galactic civilization. Request permission to open diplomatic communications." Jake looked around the room at the terrified aliens, then activated the communication system. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the colony ship Liberty. Admiral, we are currently aboard a Galactic Accord diplomatic vessel, meeting with representatives from several alien species." "Understood, Captain Morrison. We are aware of the current situation. Requesting permission to join the diplomatic discussions. High Arbiter." Quindal's form was flickering so rapidly she looked like a broken hologram. How did they find us so quickly?" "Admiral Park," Jake said into the radio. "The Galactic Accord representatives are asking how you located us." There was a pause, then a sound that might have been gentle laughter. "Captain, we've been monitoring galactic communications for 3 centuries. We knew about this meeting before you did." The aliens looked at each other in shock. Ambassador Vexkoth's crystal body had turned completely transparent, which seemed to be his species' equivalent of fainting. "Admiral," Jake continued, "permission granted to join our discussions. But maybe you could make your approach a little less intimidating? Our new friends here seem pretty nervous." "Of course, Captain." Adjusting approach to minimize perceived threat. The enormous ship suddenly seemed to shimmer and change. It didn't get smaller, but somehow it appeared less threatening, as if the humans had found a way to make their technology look friendly. 10 minutes later, Admiral Susan Park walked into the meeting room, and the aliens got their first look at what 3 centuries of human development had produced. She was tall and confident, wearing a uniform that seemed to be made of materials that shifted color based on the light. Her hair was silver, but she looked young and strong. Most importantly, she carried herself with the easy confidence of someone who had never encountered a problem she couldn't solve. "Thank you for allowing me to join your discussions," she said, nodding politely to the aliens. "I apologize if our arrival caused any concern. We're still learning how to interact with galactic civilization after our long isolation." "Isolation?" asked Quindal weakly. You call 3 centuries of advancement isolation? Admiral Park sat down at the table as if she belonged there. We prefer to think of it as a learning period. We had a lot of catching up to do after the Krelak incident. You know about the Krelak incident? Asked General Throck. Of course, Admiral Park replied. Captain Tyler was my great-grandfather. His actions taught us that the galaxy wasn't ready for human technology or human thinking, so we decided to give everyone time to adjust. Dr. Chen leaned forward eagerly. What did we do during those 3 centuries? We learned, Admiral Park said simply. We studied every form of technology, every scientific principle, every philosophical question we could think of. We explored our own solar system completely, built cities on every planet and moon, and created technologies that our ancestors could barely imagine. But why are you coming back now? Asked Ambassador Vexkoth. Because our colony ships were waking up, Admiral Park explained. Ships like the Liberty were sent out before our isolation began. We couldn't let our people make first contact without support. Carlos looked confused. Support? We seem to be doing fine on our own. Admiral Park smiled. Captain Morrison, you've done an excellent job. But you're not alone anymore. We brought friends. She pressed a button on her wrist and the window of the meeting room suddenly filled with lights. Dozens of ships were appearing in space around them, each one different from the others, but all clearly human in design. Those are all human ships? Asked Amy. Some of them, Admiral Park said. Others belong to our allies. Allies? Asked Jake. The Andromedans, the Void Dwellers, and the Machine Collective, Admiral Park explained casually. We've made quite a few friends during our isolation. The aliens looked like they were about to have collective heart attacks. The names Admiral Park had mentioned were legendary in galactic history. Species so advanced and dangerous that they had been considered myths. The Machine Collective are your allies? Whispered General Throck. They are excellent conversationalists. Once you get to know them, Admiral Park replied. Very logical, very practical. They appreciate human ingenuity. High Arbiter Quindell was flickering so rapidly she was hard to look at. Admiral Park, what exactly does humanity want from the galaxy? The same thing we've always wanted, Admiral Park said. To explore, to learn, to ask questions and find answers. But now we'd like to do it together with our galactic neighbors instead of alone. Together? Asked Ambassador Vexkoth. The universe is a big place, Admiral Park explained. There are mysteries out there that would take any one species millions of years to solve alone. But working together, sharing knowledge and resources, we could unlock secrets that none of us could discover by ourselves. Jake was beginning to understand what Admiral Park was suggesting. You're talking about making the Galactic Accord bigger, adding not just humans, but our allies too. I'm talking about making it better, Admiral Park corrected. For 3 centuries, the galaxy has been stable and safe, that's good. But it's also been stagnant. No major discoveries, no great advances, no bold exploration of the unknown. That's because the unknown is dangerous, said General Throck. Yes, Admiral Park agreed. That's what makes it interesting. Dr. Chen was practically bouncing in her chair with excitement. Think about it. Human curiosity combined with galactic wisdom. Human technology working with alien knowledge. We could explore places and discover things that have been impossible for any single species. But what if something goes wrong? Asked Quindell. Danny Walsh grinned. Ma'am, something always goes wrong. That's what makes life fun. Admiral Park stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships. The galaxy has spent 300 years following one rule. Don't wake the humans. Well, we're awake now. The question is, what do we do next? She turned back to the aliens, who were still looking terrified, but also, for the first time, a little curious. We can go back to the old way, she continued. Humans can return to isolation, and the galaxy can continue being safe and quiet and unchanging.